Think about the speed of a bullet. It's so fast we can't see it. Whenever we visualize it in movies or stock footage like this, we have to slow it down, like way, way down. The fastest bullets traveled about 2,200 feet per second. That's about 1,500 miles per hour. If you fired a round across an American football field, which is 300 feet, it would go from end to end in 0.136 seconds. At 30 frames per second on video, that would take up about 4 frames, like this. Blink and you'll miss it. What about something bigger though, like say the International Space Station? That's easier to see, but that's still crazy fast. From the perspective of somebody on the field though, that would definitely get your attention, but you might not even know what it was. But here's the thing. The space station is actually traveling much, much faster than that, more than 10 times faster than that. So fast that if it flew across this football field at actual speed, it would just vaporize in the air and the whole stadium while it's at it. But let's say you could get above all that air and float in one spot in space. Keeping in mind everything I just talked about, if the International Space Station flew past you at 17,000 miles per hour, it would look like this. Did you miss it? I think we missed it. Turns out it's impossible to even catch at 30 frames per second. In other words, if the ISS flew past you in space, you wouldn't see it. You wouldn't hear it, you wouldn't feel a gust of wind blow off of it. You would have no idea that an object the size of a football stadium just flew right past you. You'd have no idea it happened. Orbital speeds are ridiculous, and there are tens of thousands of objects flying around at that speed. Tracking these objects and avoiding them has become vital for the continued functioning of our modern world. Luckily, there's a company that's doing exactly that. Today we're going to talk about them. Space junk has existed for as long as we've been launching satellites. Like I did this compilation of cool space footage about a month ago or so, and this shot was there from 1959, and yeah, look at that. Space junk. Actually, that manhole cover thing is true. I guess that would technically be the first space junk. If you don't know, I did a video about it a while back. It was something called Operation Plumb Bob, and they basically blew up a nuclear bomb under the ground, and a manhole cover apparently got shot into space. So they say. Anyway, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, has been tracking orbital debris since 1957. More than 32,000 of the 54,000 plus objects that they track are considered debris. Some of the earliest pieces of debris came from Sputnik 4, the Russian satellite. It carried a mannequin and a dog named Chinunska to orbit in 1961. Don't worry, they both came home safe. There's not a dead dog as part of our space debris. They did both come back down, but there are bits of Sputnik 4 that have stayed in space for years. In fact, in 1962, a 20-pound chunk of it fell in front of the Rahr West Art Museum in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. That museum still celebrates something they call Sputnik Fest to this day. I could go down a long list of space junk incidents, but I've already covered that in another video. Suffice it to say that hundreds of accidents, as well as intentional explosions, have littered Earth's orbit, and this does cause problems, especially for the ISS crew. For example, there was a 2007 test of a Chinese anti-missile system that created 3,500 pieces of debris, and then 14 years later, in November 2021, the ISS had to make an emergency maneuver to avoid hitting one of those pieces of debris. And then less than a week later, the ISS crew had to shelter in a landing capsule after a Russian missile test resulted in 1,500 pieces of debris all over again. And the fragments that the ISS dodges are usually smaller than a softball, which to us doesn't sound like a big deal, but again, the speeds we're talking about here, a direct hit could have a combined speed of over 54,000 kilometers per hour. Even specks of dust at that speed can do major damage. In fact, past minor impacts have cracked windows in the ISS and poked holes in its robotic parts. Even the Hubble Space Telescope's been cratered by impacts made by man-made junk over the years. I could go on, but you get the point, and thankfully, some governments of the world do too. Finally. The FCC just made a change that limits communication satellites serving the US market to lifespans of 5 years after their missions end, which used to be 25 years. So, I mean, that's a good start, but reliable estimates have said that even if we don't launch any new spacecraft at all from this point forward, collisions will continue to happen through the year 2200. And yet, scientists have been warning for years that if enough collisions happen, it'll just become impossible to safely launch anything to space. This is the so-called Kessler Syndrome. This is named after Donald Kessler. He's a NASA scientist that advocates for cleaning up our orbit. The idea is that in an extreme case anyway, a domino effect of orbital collisions could just destroy every object in orbit and then stop them from being replaced. This would be devastating to our economy. I mean, worse in my book would be the effect that this would have on human spaceflight, you know? I mean, We would be launching people into basically a cloud of flying knives and shrapnel. It would be impossible. We wouldn't be, forget sending people to Moon or Mars. Spaceflight programs might never recover. But there is a company working to prevent that. This is where I talk about that company. That company is Privateer Space. I've talked about Privateer before, and this summer I actually got a chance to interview the company's co-founder and chief scientist, Moriba Jah. Moriba is an amazing guy who's made a career as an aerospace engineer and space environmentalist. How he got into that career is a fascinating story. You'll want to hear the whole conversation for yourself, but he breaks down the problem like this.
Where we put satellites, it's not random. We put satellites in specific orbital highways depending on the service or capability that we want them to provide. When the thing stops working, there is no off-ramp, so to speak. So what Privateer wants to do, founded upon this belief of interconnectedness and stewardship, wants to be this platform company that enables developers to develop solutions to these wicked problems where lower their bar of entry. I mean, look, I travel the world, man. And when I go and talk to people, it's like, hey, I have some cool ideas, but how do I make that happen? How do I develop like an app that could solve, this sort of thing or that or the other? It's like, yeah, I want to provide that to you.
As you just heard, Privateer's product is a data set. Privateer is a platform company that wants to enable other companies, agencies, and individuals with space debris ideas to do their thing, and you can see their application of their platform at privateer.com. At least at the time of this video, the Privateer homepage shows Wayfinder. This is a visualization tool based on Dr. Jah's work. Now, under the hood, Wayfinder compiles data from multiple sources to predict the flight of orbital objects. This platform approach means that companies can access the data in different ways. So when Privateer was first announced, it got a lot of attention because the other co-founder is Steve Wozniak, the guy who invented the PC so Steve Jobs could take credit for it. And yeah, the way the news articles framed it, it almost sounded like they were gonna be launching recovery rockets or something like that, but that's not what they're doing. They're actually just creating the platform so that other people can do that. And they're making that data available for free. You may have noticed the buttons next to that sexy Omega watch on their homepage. That's what's paying for it. But you can use those to pause, play, or fast forward the Wayfinder's visualization. Privateer allows free predictions of where objects will be up to 24 hours in advance. But clients that want to look further can pay what CEO Alex Fielding has called bespoke information, as in tailored to their client's needs. In addition to Wayfinder, Privateer has started a beta program for a service that they call Crow's Nest. It predicts collisions between orbital objects, putting a number on the chance of the impact. You can see a crow's nest through an icon in Wayfinder's display that it kind of looks like an emoji for frowning cyclops. Is it just me? So when I talked to Moriba, I asked if they had any ambitions to actually launch satellites into space themselves for this, and he mentioned that they did want to have their own sources of data. So to that end, they designed a constellation of small satellites. Two of these, called Pono 1 and Pono 2, were originally scheduled to go up in orbit in 2022. Hasn't quite happened yet. The launch date of Pono 1 is still TBD. Pono, by the way, stands for Righteousness and Balance, according to the t-shirt shop I found online anyway. The name is Hawaiian. Privateer is based in Hawaii, so that makes sense. And I think it does a good job of reflecting the company's values, that we should all be righteous in taking stewardship of Spaceship Earth. To that end, Privateer has announced several partnerships with companies of a like mind, one of which is Astroscale. This is a Japanese company that want to provide end-of-life services for satellites. They sent 2 test satellites to orbit in 2021. One of these was a servicer satellite, and the other was a client that kind of was standing in for test debris. So the servicer was actually able to grab the client with a magnet and then release it, and then navigate autonomously. Privateer has also partnered with Scout, another company in the space data sector. The details of that partnership are very technical and vague. I don't have all the details necessarily, but Scout is known for being a machine vision company and a CubeSat technology company, so make of that what you will. And last year, Privateer announced a partnership with the US Space Force, but I don't have any details on that one. So we mentioned their platform, we mentioned their specific partnerships, but here are some companies that might be using their technology on their own. I mentioned Astroscale's magnet already. Since 2019, ESA has been making plans to deorbit debris using multi-armed satellite called ClearSpace 1. Going back even further, there have been plans for a really long time now to actually fit the ISS with a laser cannon, actual laser cannon, or use ground-based laser brooms to sweep debris away. The idea being that if you can blast a tiny piece of space debris with a laser, it would create a little bit of momentum, maybe a little bit of ablative momentum that would kind of just send it into a deorbit burn kind of deal. Unfortunately, I don't know of any space laser prototypes being tested at the moment, but the concept has been around for a while and it's being studied. Also in the design phase are methods of recycling objects in orbit. A company called Widget Bender LLC recently won a NASA challenge by adapting concepts that they developed for asteroid mining. So yeah, there are people working on this, thankfully, and Privateer's platform is going to make it possible. That's the idea anyway. Which is why this September, Moriba was picked to receive funding from NASA for orbital debris mitigation research. And then in October, he was named a MacArthur Fellow and given the MacArthur Genius Grant. And by the way, huge public congratulations for that. But it kind of takes a genius to understand this stuff. Orbital mechanics is hard. It's just as hard as rocket science. Because that's what it is. It's rocket science. I mean, as I was showing at the beginning, the orbital speed, the speed of objects moving in orbit, it's insane. It's literally hard to even fathom. That's why it's a good thing we've got people like Privateer making sure things in that environment operate as smoothly and cleanly as possible. We can't have any potholes on this highway. Anyway, if you want to know more about this topic, I've got my full interview with Moriba over on my Conversations with Joe channel. I do have a podcast. It's a whole other thing. But yeah, if you found this interesting at all, we do cover all kinds of stuff over there. I've got links all over this thing. So look, if you spend any time in the comments of my videos, which of course I encourage you to do, it's a fun time down there, but you might have seen these spam comment replies that always keep popping up. It's the worst thing about YouTube right now. It's the bane of my existence. These are spam accounts, fake accounts that pretend to be me. They use my likeness, they use my avatar, they use my name sometimes, and they're usually trying to sell you some kind of Bitcoin thing and get you to click on a link. Most of you can tell right away that it's spam, but there's some people that don't, and they fall for the scam, and then they get mad at me about it, which is super frustrating when people are mad at me, but also there's just not much I can do about it. You know, you ban one account, 2 more pop up. I wish there was a program that could deal with that. But here's the deal, that happens inside your computer all the time, and you have no idea it's happening. There's malware, spyware, they trick your computer into downloading it and then wreak havoc on your privacy and information. The difference is, there is a program to stop that. That's NordVPN. What it does is it creates a virtual private network. That's the VPN part. And what that does is hide your IP by tricking the malware into thinking that you're somewhere else. And there's also some cool tricks you can play to let you stream content from Netflix and other services you can't see here in the States. Neat little hack there. And they also have this thing called threat protection, because a lot of scammers don't just, sneak in through the back door of your computer. They send phishing campaigns to you to get you to click on fraudulent links. Kind of like those comment spams. Well, what threat protection does is it'll tell you before you click on it when a link is suspicious and warn you before it takes you over there. So even if you click a link by accident, they'll catch it before it causes a problem. There's also a block malicious ads feature, so you won't even have to worry about clicking the wrong ads on a website. It's an all-in-one security system. It's simple to set up and use. Just let it do its thing, and then you can just browse the internet stress-free. So if you want to give that a try, just go to nordvpn.com/Joe Scott, where if you sign up for the 2-year plan, you'll get 4 additional months for free, and they've got a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you've got nothing to lose. So yeah, if you're not using a VPN, it's a pretty good idea to use one. I use one myself. That's why I'm happy to promote NordVPN. So yeah, just go to nordvpn.com/Joe Scott. Give it a try. It's worth a shot. Ooh, that was a rhyme. I should do that from now on. Big thanks to NordVPN for supporting this video, and a huge shout out to the Answer Files on Patreon who have supported this channel, forming an awesome community, just being really cool people. I can't thank you guys enough. We've got some new people. I gotta murder their names real quick. We've got Bubbalonia Rising, Akiko Kawagonye, Remy S, Nicole Alscade, I think. Dick the Cock Ahmed Johnson is back in town. There, I said it. You're happy? Natasha Talent, John, S.J. Parker, Connor, Matthew Kirchner, and Jeff Winnick. Thank you guys so much. If you would like to join them, get early access to videos, access to exclusive live streams, and just be a part of an awesome community, just go to patreon.com/answerswithjoe. Just a quick reminder, t-shirts and merch still available at answerswithjoe.com/store. Lots of cool stuff there. There's gonna be a lot of new stuff coming in the new future year time. So go check it out, get something you like. Help support the channel. Please do like and share this video if you liked it. And if this is your first time here, maybe check out this video. It might be something also space related. You'll go look and see for yourself. Look down here on the side on the browser at the other thumbnails that it's showing you. And if you see one with my face on it, give it a click, take a look. And if you do enjoy it, I invite you to subscribe. I come back with videos every Monday. All right, that's it for now. You guys go out there, have an eye-opening rest of the week, stay safe, and I'll see you on Monday. Love you guys. Take care.